dark for all of us out east. Though you guys out west, I guess not so much. So let's see if my screen comes up and see if y'all can hear me, see me, and do all the fun stuff there. All right, there's my screen. I can see me, so that's good. Jacob says 5x5, so cool. All right. And Robert says 5.56. Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. All right. So, greetings to everybody. Thank you to my mods, Lucky Dame, Lorna, North Shore, Jacob, and Robert for being here tonight. They're here every time, and I greatly appreciate the fact they're always here and on time. It's very helpful. So, thank you, guys. Okay. It's been a crazy day, huh? With everything going on in Canada, with everything going on in Europe. I figure I'm going to kind of go over the two big things here first. All right. So, saw this earlier in the comments, and I saw numerous fear porn channels putting this out today, and I'm going to set the record straight like I always do. No, Vladimir Putin did not threaten to nuke Europe. Simple as that. Now, the way the media tries to read into what he says, okay. But I'm going to give you the exact quote, and you read into it as you will. Putin, do you understand it or not, that if Ukraine joins NATO and attempts to bring Crimea back by military means, the European countries will be automatically pulled into a war conflict with Russia? There will be no winners, and you will be pulled into this conflict against your will. You won't even have time to blink your eye when you execute Article 5. Article 5 is when everybody comes to their defense, all right? Now, the only way Article 5 comes into play is if a NATO member is attacked. Ukraine's not a NATO member, so mind you this, all right? Nowhere in there did he say, I'm going to nuke Europe, and the way, was it the Global Mail, I think, was the one out of, or the Daily Mail or something like that out of the UK, a birdcage liner propaganda piece tabloid is the one that started this. Oh my God, he's going to nuke Europe. Okay. Bullshit. End of story. The funny part was, and I kind of told you this was happening, Joe got the rug pulled out from under him. Emmanuel Macron met with Putin yesterday. You guys know about that. Excuse me. And Macron comes out and says, I've got Putin promised me he's not going into Ukraine or anything like that. Now, mind you this, Macron wants to be the one that's leading NATO. Not that Joe has any way of doing it, but the U.S. traditionally has kind of been the lead, all right? Joe can't figure out what's for lunch, let alone anything else. So Macron is trying to step into the void that is the space between Joe's ears. And so, of course, he says he's got all these promises from Putin. Putin, of course, says, Moscow says, no, there were no promises like that made. But here's the whole thing. Macron is trying to take credit, like I said, for de-escalating something that was never an issue in the first place. So kind of pulled the rug out from under Joe. But no, if you're sitting in Eastern Europe, if you're sitting in Western Europe, no, there's really no threat of the Russians nuking you, okay? So take all the fear porn out and say to hell with it. Okay, Canada. And just so you know, I decided to support the Canadians today. Which way? There we go. That way. Moosehead. Funny part, I was at the store this morning. I figured, okay, somebody had mentioned Labatt's the other day. No Labatt's, no Molson, not Canadian, not Golden, not nothing. The only Canadian beer that was at the store was Moosehead. Now, I probably haven't had one of these in 30 years. So I got Moosehead for tonight. So hello, and here's to Canada. Okay, real beer. Okay, now, You guys saw what I put up this morning about Trudeau and his little freaking speech. Okay. It's funny because you now have the ministers, the other ministers in Parliament saying Trudeau's not good for the Liberal Party. Not only do you have the Conservatives against Trudeau at this point, you have the Liberals now backing away from him. Does that sound like anything that we might know in the States? Like, gee, you know what? We're going to back away from Joe. He's toxic. So you had this one minister out of Quebec, what's the guy's name? Joel Lightbound, who basically said, we got to do something. This is not working under your leadership. Now, if you think that the protests aren't working, okay, Quebec has come out and said that they're going to start lifting all the restrictions for restaurants, home gatherings, bars. Saskatchewan is removing the proof of vaccination policy effective Monday, and mask mandates are expiring at the end of the month. Some of these politicians get it. They're like, okay, we represent the people. Trudeau represents the elite, okay? He has no idea what it is to work. He was raised with a silver spoon in his mouth. Hell, his father, Pierre, was prime minister for God knows how long, and was a train wreck too. But Trudeau has no concept of what the working class does. And so, he's the epitome of Marie Antoinette and let them eat cake. That's Justin Trudeau. But it seems like, contrary to what the fear porn channels again and the mainstream media is telling you about all this, they're trying to kick us out. Yeah, they are. All right. They're trying to take the gas cans, though a judge ruled today that they can't do that. So that's back. There is a 10-day, this one's still hilarious. Some judge signed off on a 10-day moratorium from honking. Otherwise, you get a $110 fine. Right. Sure. Okay, let me see how that one goes. But, calling in the military's already said not going to happen. They're trying to send other troops from other provinces to Ottawa, but it's not like, I don't know, Windsor doesn't have a problem. The Ambassador Bridge, again, it's the same thing. If you take, like we had the problem here with nurses, let's call up all the nurses from the National Guard. Well, yeah, they're nurses in civilian life too. So you're going to take them from one hospital and move them to another hospital. Brilliant. There, Mickey Mouse. Same thing with the cops. Hey, let's take a whole bunch of cops out of Quebec or Saskatchewan or whatever and bring them all to Ottawa. Great. Now what do you have? Well, gee, there's no cops in Quebec or Saskatchewan or whatever. Dumbass. So, yeah, it'll just keep going. Eventually, Trudeau's going to have to get pushed out. And I think it's going to be done by his own party. But like I said this morning, guys, learn from this, pay attention, figure out, okay, what would I do if this happened in my yard? Because there have been rumors out there about cutting off cell phone service, internet service, like I talked about this morning. There's no verification that that's been done anywhere. But, these are things that'll happen. So we'll see what happens. Okay. I just wanted to kind of bring that stuff up for the evening, so we will start. I'm a little slower tonight. My eyes are tired. So got the screen a little bigger here, but all right. So we will go into our normal Tuesday, Saturday night stuff, Q&A, where it's all about what you guys want to talk about. Please, if you have questions for me, put them in all caps. That way I can scroll through even with the bigger screen so I can see things tonight and answer your questions. I can skip right over the lowercase stuff. Not that I'm saying don't use lowercase. Please have conversations amongst yourselves. Just keep those in lowercase so I can skip them over and get to as many people's questions as I can. What I say every week, guys, keep it family friendly. Okay, PG-13 is pretty much the rules around here. Don't be rude to everybody else. Disagreement is fine. Being an ass is not. Okay, we don't do 300-second timeouts here for all those of you who are new. If you want to be an ass, go somewhere else because you weren't going to make a second comment here. The mods are real good about keeping this a clean chat, and that's very important to me. Nothing is off limits in asking. Okay, I don't care if you want to talk about sports, you want to talk about the Olympics, you want to talk about politics, you want to talk about gardening, whatever. We'll talk about anything. The only questions I will not touch, won't even read them, are ones that talk about the 2020 election, any reference whatsoever to Let's Go Brandon or FJB. Won't touch those with the 10-foot pole, and not going to talk about anything about climate change or the jab. Okay, those are just voodoo topics. Please don't make any comments on there. I can get a strike for the channel from you making a comment. I kind of like having the chance to talk to you guys. Seems like you guys like to have a chance to listen to me. So if we work together, we can stay in good graces, and there's enough other stuff to talk about because all those topics, pretty much we all agree anyway. So it's just a circular firing squad at that point. So let's kind of go into how we can help each other out, how we can make each other more aware of things that are going on. And for all of you that have been sending me the plethora of emails today, thank you very much. I go through them all. Though somebody sent me an email today that had 14 video links on YouTube, and I'm sorry, guys, I don't have time. I'm not sitting here for 6 hours and watching all these videos. If you are going to send me a video, timestamp the video and say, watch starting at the 2:34-minute mark or something like that, so I know what your point is. I don't have time to sit down in front of a half-an-hour video and watch the whole thing. If there's something specific at a point you want to make, let me know, and then I want to go look it up myself to verify whatever, because like I said, there's a whole bunch of crap that comes out on YouTube that I blow through in a heartbeat because it's all bullshit. And like all of you guys, I have regular stuff to do. Mrs. P and I were out in 49-degree weather today, enjoying it, laid about another 100 concrete blocks around our garden. So that was our work, and it's always fun digging, leveling, doing all this sort of stuff. But we got to get this done because planting season's coming close. Okay. That being said, let's scroll to the top, see what we got here as far as I can go to the top, and see what's on y'all's mind this evening. So, Gina M, any recommendation on a two-way radio? Go to a website, literally this is it, Buy Two-Way Radios, BUYTWOWYRADIOS.com. That's where I got mine. They have, from everything I found, the best prices I found on radios. They will program them for you if you buy 4 or something like that, and have them all programmed to do it themselves. Best price, free shipping, I was able to find. Okay, then again, you can look at them depending on what your budget is, but that's where I would suggest going. Let's see. Jan Sammy, I like Moosehead. Like I said, I think the last time I had Moosehead, God, was 1990. When was I in Arlington? 1989. It's the last time I had a Moosehead. There you go. Okay, let's see. Kim, we need a man in charge with testosterone. Hell, we need a man in charge with a brain. Okay. I'll agree with you on the testosterone for Canada. I mean, we need somebody that doesn't sleep in a casket in the White House. But yeah, soy boy Trudeau. I mean, come on. I mean, how anybody can look at that guy and go, I'm going to take you seriously as a strong leader. I mean, the wind blows too hard and the guy falls down. I mean, come on. Mom Survival, thank you on the super chat there. Advice on a rainwater catch system depends on. I did a video on this maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks ago about hiding in plain sight with it. If you're going to do it off of your roof, okay, you're not. If you have asphalt shingles, do not use drinking water off of a roof that has asphalt shingles. Okay, I don't care if you run it through a Berkey, whatever it would be. Don't do that. Okay. If you run it off of a metal roof, yeah, then run it through your Berkey. You're fine. Watering your garden, same thing. I wouldn't use it off of an asphalt shingle roof. You can put buckets under your, rain barrels under your spigots. Just if you do that, make sure you get a fine mesh screen where the water comes in. Otherwise, you're going to have mosquito problems, and that's no good. The last thing you want to do is wind up with encephalitis or something like that from mosquitoes, or God knows whatever else, just mosquito bites. I mentioned how to build a table with a almost looking like a funnel where you could hide it over what looks like a whiskey barrel, or put pallets around, cut out the pallets, put it around a plastic barrel to make it look like a whiskey barrel, completely hidden. You know, there's many ways to do it. Just be creative. I mean, for all intents and purposes, you could hang a tarp from 2 trees, bring it down to a funnel, and let it rain right into the bucket. And then when the rain's gone, take the tarp down, and you're done. So it's just a matter of getting creative real quick there. KKR here. Boxes of seeds are in the mail, hopefully arriving by Saturday. Also put a package in the mail to you. Great. Hope it's not more seeds. And I did hear, while we're talking about seeds, and thank you, KKR, for saying that. I did hear from the first box of mine that apparently it made it all the way through Georgia, and I didn't know. So it is down. That box is down in Florida. So it's got to go to Fort Myers, then it goes to Spring Hill, then it's off to Alabama, and then it's going to start working its way up the Mississippi. So that box actually looks like it's halfway decent for a lot of people for planting, because 2 in Florida, 2 in Alabama, 3 in Western Tennessee, and then we're talking about the Chicago area. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people down, and we're up in Chicago, and you ain't planting anytime soon there. As for my other box, I have not heard anything on that one in 2 weeks. That one was still in Georgia. It was supposed to be heading to Felton, Georgia next, but I have never heard if it got there. So last I heard on that box was January 24th. And in regards to unique rabbits or voodoo queens or treasure seekers, you got to contact them for those. All right, back to over here where we are. Paul Garricky, have I seen the side-by-side photos of Trudeau and a young Fidel Castro? Pretty interesting. I know, I see this story all the time that Fidel Castro is actually Justin Trudeau's father, everything like that. I just filed that one right with the Obama birth certificates and everything like that. Who knows? Nobody's ever going to tell us that. It doesn't affect the price of tea in China, so I really don't care. Josh Pick 18, canned chicken 6 packs at my Kroger went from $8.99 up $4 to $12.99 this week. Yeah, I'd say a 50%, almost 50% jump would be a kick in the teeth. I haven't looked at canned chicken in a while. I've got a bunch of it upstairs. But Mrs. P and I have been buying legs and thighs in 10-pound packs. I mean, they've gone up from 59 cents to 69 cents for leg quarters. And I mean, even then, that 69 cents is still dirt cheap. And I used to be able to get it on sale for 39 cents, $3.99 for 10 pounds of chicken legs and thighs. But that's what we do, is we'll grab those and canned some of that, so I've got a bunch of that canned. I've got like 50 pounds of it in the freezer or whatever it would be. But yeah, it's, and again, I know what everybody's going to say. It's like, oh, white meat's better for you and everything. Yes, I agree. And I actually prefer white meat. She prefers dark meat. But I prefer having something that's got the calories, and there's more flavor and more calories in dark meat, and that's going to be more needed in SHTF. Which brings me to a sidebar real quick, something that we were talking about, and I want you guys to think about this because it's a good topic. I hear a lot of people, somebody said earlier they canned 57 pounds of ground beef or something like that today. Awesome. Don't ever get me wrong here when I'm not saying don't can stuff. That's not what I'm saying here. What I am saying is to all these people who say, don't count on your freezer, you need to can everything. Depends, all right? Now, the reason I say that, I've got my solar generators. I know they can run my freezers. My oven, my stove, is on propane. That is, I have here in the yard, okay? So if the power went out, I could hook up my generators to my freezers and have time to can it because I still have the fuel. For me, that works. If you have an electric stove, no, that doesn't work all of a sudden. If you don't have the generators, no, that doesn't work. So again, I've said this many times, there is not a one-size-fits-all to prepping. Yes, I can store a lot in my freezer, and if I have to can it, I've got 4 generators worth of a day and a half. I've got 3 days that I could be canning everything in my freezer, okay, and whatever. That would be fine. Not everybody has the same setup I do. I get that. So figure out what your setup is first, and again, think about this stuff. If the power goes out, can I use my canner? If you can't, then you need to have the stuff canned ahead of time. Okay. So there's just something Mrs. P and I were talking about the other day, and that kind of reminded me of it. CR, did I see that that New York is going to lift mask mandates, but not for school children? Yeah, I saw that Kathy Hochul is trying to fight that, even though the Supreme Court's already turned her down, she's still going to come up with something else. So yeah, it's like, I'll never understand New York City. Okay, I like most places, New York City should be a separate state from New York State, because it's like all these people in this little tiny island vote blue, and the rest of the people in the whole damn state vote red, and we got to listen to what the yahoos in New York City think. So yeah, I mean, you also heard that Andrew Cuomo's trying to run for attorney general now. It's like, really? You're gonna prosecute yourself, dude? Who knows? Okay. Cindy Rice, many people commute to work using the Ambassador Bridge. Yeah. And the other thing to think about is a lot of car parts come across. I mean, remember, we're talking, if you guys don't know where it is, trivia question for you. You actually go south from Detroit into Canada on the Ambassador Bridge. Okay, so yeah, Canada's south of there. I used to live up there, so I know that. But yeah, I mean, you think about the Ambassador Bridge. It is the busiest border crossing between the U.S. and Canada of all of them. Car parts, food, grain, anything like that. I mean, Kroger, GM, Ford, you name it, that's where the stuff's coming across. Now, the interesting part is there's no problem getting from Canada into the United States. The problem is the backup is in the United States because the truckers aren't going into Canada. Okay, so, but yeah, people commuting to work, and I forget what what the name of the tunnel was to get over there too. But I haven't, you're not going to take the trucks through the tunnel under the Detroit River, but there's your option. Brian B, have I ever done any winter gardening and sowing? If so, any vegetables that work best? No, I didn't, because I really don't have that much of a turnaround here. And mind you, this is going to be my third season here. And before here, we lived in Vegas. I didn't don't have a winter. I mean, when I'm growing grapefruits and lemons and oranges and stuff like that, winter in Vegas is two months long or 2 weeks long. Uh, and then I didn't do any gardening when I was in Salt Lake. So no, I haven't. I'm not going to be the person for advice on winter sowing uh, seeds and stuff like that in cold frames. It's not something I do. So, and again, I'm not going to try to bullshit you and say I do. So, Scarlet Brimstone. Well, I guess I should look into a CB with how things are looking. Now, I've done the videos on Camo before and talked about it. Again, this is a figure out your own situation and what it's going to need. Somebody emailed me today, said, I'm in Florida, my daughter's in Nashville. Well, CB is useless to you at that point, okay? You might miraculously get lucky once in a while on the skip at night and be able to catch each other, but it's not anything I would count on. So in that case, now that's talking more ham radios and hoping you've got repeaters and everything like that that can go through for it. People have mentioned satellite phones. Okay. Trust me, if the shit hits the fan, civilian use of satellites is not going to be there. So I wouldn't count on a sat phone whatsoever. But, as I said this morning, you shut down communication, the world gets real small real fast. Florida to Nashville, forget it. If you're lucky enough to get one message through, you're going to be real lucky. Your communication is going to be limited to your local area, guys. First, last, what's my take on the big fence at the White House? I refuse to believe this is fountain repair, okay? Because even if it was fountain repair, the fence has been up for over a month now. That would be done, okay? I mean, unless you've got mob-controlled workers working there, doing it, I think the work would be done by now. So there's something going on behind there, and it really gets brushed aside because nobody has any idea, so nobody's talking about it. Of course, the media won't say anything. I just saw somebody asked about the radio website, BUYTWO radios.com, by2wayradios.com. Lisa, thank you for the super chat. And would I ever consider doing a live stream book review on 1 second after? Wow, powerful. I had not read it. It's free audio on YouTube. Just search it. I think it's worth discussing. I'm about halfway through The Final Day right now, which is the third book in the trilogy. And I would advise everybody to read them all because 1 second after is very powerful. But then the next two books, what is it? 1 minute after or 1 hour? I forget what the second one's called now, and the last one's called The Final Day. They're worth reading. If anything, I mean, it's fiction, but it will really make you think about the possibilities of things that could happen. And I mean, in the book, John Matheson is the luckiest guy alive because all the times there's an attempt on his life, somehow he comes out of it. So like I said, it's fiction, but it's a good read. And I mean, that would be if we did something like that, Lisa, I think that would almost have to be like a panel discussion with people that read it to bounce ideas off of each other. It's a thought. We'll see. I don't know. Enough people want to do it. We could do something like that and discuss the book, but do a miniature book club. All right. Moving on. Purring Lady, will Hunter Biden ever be fully investigated? My heart says yes, my brain says no. I want to think that there's enough good people that want to know, get to the bottom of this laptop and the dealings with Ukraine and the dealings with China, stuff like that. My brain says no because there aren't enough good people. There are too many in there who will, I'll cover for you if you cover for me on this one. Okay. There there are very few people in Washington, okay, and every one of them has got skeletons in their closet, and everybody else knows about it. And that's why nothing ever gets brought up, because it's like, you open your mouth about Hunter, I'm going to the press about this on you. That's just, it's, blackmail is like an Olympic sport in Washington. Empress Kimberly, regarding grow lights, do I need them on before the seeds germinate or only after? Only after. Okay. Until they break ground, light does nothing. You could literally put your seeds in a cabinet and let them sit in a cabinet in pitch black, and they'll still germinate. Once they germinate, then they need the light, because what you're trying to get is photosynthesis from the leaves from the light. Renegade Black Sheep, what suggestions do you have for container gardening so it's more successful? Well, and again, this is going to depend on the plant, okay? While yes, you could grow sweet potatoes or regular potatoes in a 5-gallon bucket, I'd suggest rather using it, okay, because you're going to get better spacing to, you have more room to spread out. You don't need 1.5 feet depth for either one of them. Having good soil, absolutely. Don't just go dig something out of your backyard, okay? If you're going to put something in pots, you need potting mix, not seed starting mix, not dirt, okay? You need good soil. If you can grow in compost, that's good, but it's got to be quality compost, not this stuff that you go to Walmart and pay $1.99 a bag for and go, okay, I've got compost. All right, you open the damn thing up and it's mostly pine needles and stuff like that. You need quality compost. And then the other thing is, learn about what you're planting. Okay, there's a lot more to planting than putting a seed in the ground, watering it, and 3 months later going, oh, cool, look at all the beans I have, or whatever. Different types of crops need different types of fertilizer, and I've talked about this numerous times. Your lettuces, your kales, your things like that, those are heavy nitrogen feeders. Corn, a heavy nitrogen feeder. But then you talk about, any of your fruiting plants, those are going to want more phosphorus. Different things. You have to learn about what each particular plant, not, a Brandywine tomato and a Rutgers tomato are tomatoes. They're going to take the same kind of fertilizer, okay? But, what a tomato needs for fertilizer and what a potato needs for fertilizer is totally different. And the idea of, oh, I'll just throw some 10-10-10 on there, that doesn't work for everything. So, the best advice I'd give you is study the plant. You want to plant, I don't know, tomatoes, peppers, and cucumbers. Go read up on how's the best, get the best yield out of your tomatoes, out of your cucumbers, out of your peppers, whatever it would be, and become experts on that, and then move on to the next one. And the way my comment always been, when you can tell somebody else how to do it without having to check your notes, then you know what you're doing. Okay. So, if you got to go, hang on, let me go get my book, and then, that's not necessarily it. But, when I'm telling you, yeah, put eggshells or put some sort of calcium carbonate in the bottom of your pepper holes and your tomato holes, because preventing blossom end rot, yes, okay, because I know that's what needs to be done. And I'm no master gardener, nowhere even close. So, but it's just experience, and it's like anything else. You can go find people who have been gardening for 30 years, and they'll tell you about the mistakes they made last year. Okay, happens to everybody. You just keep trying, keep learning. Mama Preps 4. My uncle is a truck driver and might be joining the DC convoy. Hopefully this actually happens. Yeah, well, I'll believe it when I see it. That's the thing. Mom Survival, thank you for the super chat. You say, read a story about a woman in the Holocaust who gave water to those in line for the gas chamber, got caught and was sent to the gas chamber herself. I don't think we live in a society that would give anyone water anymore. See, I'll disagree, okay? Because if you look at the Canadian protest going on right now, I mean, I saw a story about a couple of, I think they were Polish women who had left Poland and moved to Canada, and they drove, it was like 3 or 4 hours, and brought 1,500 Polish sausage and buns and everything and vodka to the protest to give away to the truck drivers. And like I said, not if they're driving, they don't get the vodka. But there's plenty of people that will help. I mean, I'll give you a silly one. I was at the post office this morning dropping off the seed boxes. I walked out to my truck, and there on the ground were 2 strips of stamps. Now, mind you, I live in this little tiny town. It's not like it's busy. I pick them up. I walk back inside. I mean, there's one other lady. I said, is the black SUV outside yours? She's like, yeah. I said, I think you dropped your stamps. And she's like, oh my God, thank you. There are good people that will help other people. Okay. And I can give you other stories that I know of and things like that. Not everybody, but call me an optimist. Okay. But I still think there are more good people out there than bad people. And if SHTF happens, I think the good in people is going to come out. I know. Nobody's going to believe me on that one either. Ryosaki Pawns. I'm going to take a shot at this. Do I use a solar system? Have any thoughts on solar off-grid power? Okay. Talked about this before. Last year I was looking at putting solar system into my house and got it quoted $80,000. Not in this guy's budget. Okay. So that didn't happen. So my alternative has been the solar generators and 4 of the generators and 3 of the foldable solar panels. Sure, it's not as efficient. I've still got to be moving around, but doing my research on the solar generators, I've told everybody about the EcoFlow Delta 1300s that I have. I guess they've got a new one out, a 1600 or something like that, a bigger one, but I haven't used that. But again, figuring out what would work for me that works. Again, I can't run my furnace on those generators. That is one place I was lacking. So I found an alternative solution, and I've got a propane heater that I put in the house that is efficient enough to heat the majority of the house, and we won't freeze. Do I have air conditioning in the summer? No. I figure people lived for millennia without air conditioning. I can do it too. So, but that's, you figure out what works for you. What am I going to be able to power? What's the important stuff for me to power? Refrigerator, freezer, feasibly lights. Fortunately for me and Mrs. P, we don't have, medical needs or anything like that, CPAPs or insulin that needs to stay cold or anything like that at this point in our lives. Who knows what happens later? But look into what works for you. A whole house solar system sounds great until you look at the cost of it and go, are you freaking kidding me? So, and I know people are out there saying, they can build their own and everything. I'm not that guy. I can't do that. All right. So I'm also a realist and going, I know my capabilities and I'm not going to try to hook up a whole house solar system on my house. Go, gee, I hope this works. I hope this works. So no. Jeff Welch, if you get a ham license, we can still hear you even after SHTF fireside chats. Honestly, if we go into an SHTF situation, guys, no offense, but I'm going to be kind of concerned with my immediate area. Not like, oh, gee, you know what? It's Tuesday night. Let me go get on the ham radio and talk to everybody for an hour. So I'm sitting there on a porch with, an AR-15 watching to make sure nobody burns down my house. No. Dirty food prepper. Why are my plants always dying? Well, we could probably have about a 6-hour Q&A period on that one. Deb Martin, Pinball, we know you grow vegetables. Do you also grow dry herbs? We don't often much. We've got all the packs for the dill and the basil and everything like that. But we're, again, still establishing the gardens that we've got going on here, and one thing at a time. Before I start getting into the finite, I'd like a little basil on this. Right now I'm going, I just want the tomato, so one step at a time. Again, remember, we're still starting in a new garden. I'm still trying to build up soil in these. Fortunately, when we were looking at it today, the soil is looking really good, but I need more, so just composting and composting it. Then I can start expanding on more, bringing in more flowers so I can bring more pollinators to my gardens and things like that. Yeah. Curry, 10 years getting close to the two mark. What's next? Yeah, we crossed 196 today. I think it closed at 1.958. This is where, and just to give you this, guys, like I told you before about the 2% on the 10-year, this makes it harder and harder for the government to borrow money because interest rates are going up. Okay. But you and me to borrow money. And with everything that's going on in the economy, inflation, you take a look and people are, oh my God, I need groceries. They go on the credit card. The mortgage rates go up. Finance a car, that goes up. And then the banks are also getting squeezed, if you will, in, they can't borrow money as cheaply either. So now they get more selective in who they're going to give loans to. Somebody wants to buy a house, somebody wants to buy a car, you used to have a 620 score. Now we need somebody that's got a 630 credit score or something. So it's going to freeze some people out because the banks can't make the profit as the spreads get tighter and tighter and tighter. So, but the big thing is with the 2.0, this is where the federal government goes, uh-oh, we got problems now, and you're hearing, what was it, Bank of America, I think, that talked about they're calling for 7 rate hikes this year. All right, well, if you do 0.25% each time, that's 1 3/4% interest rate hike. That's a lot. Healthy disrespect for authority. Do I believe the groundhog that there's 6 more weeks of winter? Depends on where you are. Here, no, because we're supposed to have a warm March and a warm April. But I'll believe the Farmer's Almanac a little better than I'll believe the groundhog. But I can't speak for everywhere because you tell me, if you live in Massachusetts and just got dumped with 2 feet of snow, are you looking at 6 more weeks of winter, or was it 50 degrees and you were out working in your garden today? Angel Faley 1, can cash register paper be used for compost? Highly doubtful, because it's that plasticized, that slick stuff, and that won't compost well. David Williams, Pinball, advise please. How would you suggest I keep in communication should everything go down here in Mexico? Again, with whoever you're trying to keep in communication with. If it's your local area, a CB radio is fine. Problem is, guys, even CB base stations, they don't make them anymore. They're hard to find. You got to find one, maybe in a pawn shop. Maybe you find somebody who's still got a couple. I looked on Amazon for the one that Mrs. P got me for my birthday. Discontinued. No more. Okay. So harder and harder and harder to find. Yes, you can get one of the car CBs, hook it up to a battery. and then still have yourself a pole antenna for it, but and that'll work. But you're not going to have the base station, the single sideband and everything like that on it. It's not going to be as convenient, but it will work. But yeah, depending on depending on who you're trying to keep in touch with, you're if it's somebody up in the States, absolutely, it's going to have to be ham radio. I mean, again, like I said earlier, guys, when SHTF hits, if commo goes down, your communication that you're concerned about is maybe a mile within a mile of your house, 2 tops, okay? Because you're not going to be want to go any further than that, okay? Because you're going to be out of your protected area. The first couple of weeks, sure, because commo's going to be important. Oh my God, my daughter's in Indiana and she wants to come here. How's she going to get here, or whatever it would be? Hopefully you've got a plan already in place. But most of it, you're going to be flying blind. There is not going to be this Sunday, hey, at 2:00, we'll just call. How you doing this week? Nope, that ain't happening. Your ham radios and stuff like that is going to be more for receiving information than giving it. The world goes to hell, and you're going to want to try to pick up whatever news you can get. Did the Chinese come across? Did the Russians come across? Is it the North Koreans? Is the Mexicans coming across the border? How, what's going on? I mean, what happened? That's what you're looking at. Economic collapse or whatever it is. If there's no communication whatsoever, what's being done to fix it? So you're going to be gathering information more than giving it. Shot to the bottom. Let's see. Okay. Yep, that's me. Why isn't there more hydroponic gardening in the prepping community? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I mean, it's a good question. There are many different ways to garden. Hydroponics is one of them, and I think it's not as feasible because you need more equipment and more space. Where to garden in a garden, it's like, okay, I need land, that's it. So I don't hydroponic garden. It's a good question. I just don't have a good answer. Two ladies homesteaders. Good news. I'm getting a new Charolais bull calf tomorrow. Cool. Congratulations. May G. I've had this question come up a few times this week in email. How do I find others to start a mag? I've done videos on this in the past, and what I will say is you're going to have to put yourself out there a little bit, all right? And it may be awkward or whatever. If there are people that have large gardens in your area, go talk to them. Hey, I see you got a large garden and stuff like that. I'm having trouble growing my peppers. Any tips you can give me? Use that as an icebreaker or something like that. Go to gun stores and talk to the guys at the gun store. You'll find a lot of gun owners or preppers. Keep an eye. You're walking through the grocery store, walking through Walmart. Look at other people's carts. If all of a sudden you see, somebody's got 20 pounds of rice in there, 3 flats of vegetables and a couple of Coleman propane tanks, maybe have a conversation. Maybe just, hey, you thinking the world's going to shit too? Amazing how you might strike up a conversation. But you're going to have to put yourself out there, and you're going to have to pay attention. There isn't a 1-800-preppers number to call to put yourself on a list. So, Rooster, photosynthesis, pinball does happen under grow lights. So I always put seeds under lights as soon as I plant the said seed. Yeah, you can. I mean, it's fine. It's not going to hurt it. You just don't have to. South Colorado Stetter, do you think truckers will protest the Super Bowl? Some GOPs think they should. I saw one comment on that this morning. I thought that would be kind of interesting. I don't, I, except the Super Bowl's in California this year. I mean, they talk about for it to be in a crappy place where so many trucks can't go because, you know, oh, gee, it's older than 2010 or 2011 or whatever year it is and everything like that. You know, California is such a communist state as is. You know, it it'd be interesting. It'd definitely be newsworthy. I don't see it happening. I don't think they could put something together in 6 days either. Holly Hokinson, do you have to heat the eggshells before powdering for the garden? No, but okay. So I'll give you this. You know, if you take your eggshells out, wash them, especially, you know, making scrambled eggs, you crack your egg, definitely wash the eggs. Okay. You want to get rid of any of the egg residue that's in there. If you're making hard-boiled eggs, okay, there's not going to be as much egg residue, but you know how you get that little thin film or whatever it is? That's going to make it tough to grind. It's a lot easier. Put your eggshells. I mean, I just did a bunch today. Banana peels, coffee grounds, and eggshells. And I just put it in the oven for a half an hour, 45 minutes at 275. Dry them all out, throw them in the blender, and that's it. I mean, it's not a big deal. So you don't have to, but you certainly don't. You certainly need to at least wash them because you do not want to be introducing any pathogens to your garden. And trust me, you want to make sure everything is super, super dry before grinding it up and putting it in a jar, because otherwise everything in your jar is going to start to mold. Brenda Mackey, would a CB radio work 5 hours away? No, not unless you're going to catch the skip. You might get a good base station antenna, might get you about 10 to 15 miles. You know, that's about it. So don't expect much more than that. Emma Wagner, do not add lime for your potatoes. They love raw ground. Correct. Bradford Home, when saving eggshells for your plant food, did you say to rinse off your shells first? Yes. What I just said. Okay. Lori Selzer, what solar generator do I have? I have the EcoFlow Delta 1300 that I bought at wellbots.com, which is, I found that they are cheaper than about anywhere else you can get them. And I bought the refurbished ones from them, and they work good as new. So, but it saves myself a hell of a lot of money. Flint McRock, the good you do today may be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Yes, Mother Teresa, I'll agree. You know, if anything, somebody upstairs didn't forget. Lisa Preps, I agree. A lot of people would help many of those in chat. Yes. And we show that, guys. Just, I mean, you know, you look what KKR and Voodoo Queen and Diana, North Carolina did with the seeds. I mean, they just helped everybody out there. I didn't ask them to. They said, hey, let me do this. Can you help? And we put it together. Nothing, they don't get anything for it. You know, they get that feeling going, I helped somebody. You know, so that was it. Hot Rod Prepper, will any 100-watt solar panel work with the EcoFlow 1800 generator? I don't know about an 1800, but it should. Okay, the ones I've got are 120-watt ones, and they're 12 C-Van is the brand, and they work fine with it. So, Alan Prepper 52, can you touch on importance of safety on a homestead? That's a big topic. Yeah, I mean, guys, you don't do anything stupid. You know, you try not to do anything stupid in normal times. Certainly in an SHTF, don't take chances. You know, if you can't I don't know, pick something, jump across a 3-foot hole now. Don't try to jump across a 3-foot hole later. You're not getting younger or something like that. If you don't know how to use a chainsaw, don't use a chainsaw, because think about this. If you hurt yourself now, remember I sliced my finger, okay? Remember I sliced my leg, all right, with different things. If I needed stitches for either one of those things, there was a hospital I could go to. There's a ready med I could have gone to. In an SHTF situation, there isn't. My luxury would have been, hey, Mrs. P, come here, stitch me up. Okay. Now, safety is going to be hugely important no matter what you do. If you don't know what you're doing, now is the time to learn, not later. That's a good idea for a full-blown video, though, Alan Prepper. South Colorado Stetter, I heard the bigger Delta should run my well pump. If that's possible, then I need to check into that. Okay. Thank you for telling me that. Bo Roland, need more silver, gold, and a new Martin guitar. Okay, more silver, more gold. Not going to complain. The new Martin guitar. Trust me, I think the Kmart special guitar, acoustic guitar, is probably going to be fine in an SHTF situation. Your Stratocaster with Fender amps and stuff like that, I don't think you're going to be using power. Hey, I've got my solar generator. I'll hook it up so I can rock out on my guitar. Everybody's going to go, I think we might want to use that for insulin. Han Solo Pinball, we will get you a Codex shirt if you stay. I don't know the context. Megan Carver says, Pinball, am I on Gab? No, I am not. I'm not on Gab. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Telegram. I got enough keeping up with this and doing everything I need to do. I don't have time to handle 15 different platforms. This is it. I've got Rumble as a last resort backup, or I'm in a real pissy mood, but no, that's it. Jennifer Jones, I'll give you $100 for some homemade spicy pickles. There you go. Prison Patrol, Pinball, why do you prefer the AR-15 over the AK-47 variants? I have one of each and I prefer the AK. And that's fine. I don't have a problem with either one. The reason I prefer the AR-15, I'm ex-Army. I trained with an M16. I know that weapon inside and out. If I take an AK, I've got to learn it all over again. I mean, I could disassemble and reassemble an AR-15 in my sleep. So the best weapon is the one you're most comfortable with. I'm more comfortable with an AR than I am an AK. Therefore, that's my weapon of choice. I don't have anything against AKs. It's obviously a fine piece of machinery. It's just not my weapon of choice because I don't know it as well. Wanda Anthony, how much bone meal to put in 10-gallon grow bags to grow potatoes? Maybe a couple of tablespoons, I think. You're not going to need much more than that. Have you thought of getting nut trees once the pond is in? South Colorado Stetter said. I've got to wait because we've got to take out a bunch of trees to put the pond in. Then I've got to see what the landscape looks like to see where I can put them in. I mean, we've got a whole bunch of fruit trees. Yes, I would like some nut trees as well. It's 8:58. Okay. Name. I always get your name. Name asked for life. What propane heating do you have for your house? We've got a. What the hell is it called? I did a video on it. I did a review on it. It's a little wall unit. God, when did I do this, guys? So September, October, somewhere thereabouts. There's a video there. The funny part of that video is the moose head that's on the wall. It looks like I have the antlers when I'm sitting on the floor, which was kind of humorous. But I did a video on it. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head right now, but it's, you can buy it at Lowe's. I think that's where I got it from, was Lowe's. A wall unit. ventless heating unit. Then I just had it hooked up to my propane system. Pam Fury for great gardening videos. Look up Charles Dowding. There's a lot of David the Good, M.I. Gardner, gardening channel with James Prigioni, Scott Head, Callie Kim. I mean, there's a lot of good channels that are specifically gardening out there. And I enjoy watching those too, because it's like I learned something from them occasionally too. And it's nice to chill out and not watch something that's political or prepping. One more here, and then we'll call it a day. If I can find one more. I want to find a question. Okay, maybe. Well, I can't find any more questions. All right, guys. Well, it's 9 o'clock, and if I'm not mistaken, the Angry Prepper comes on at 9. I don't want to cut into his time. So y'all have a good evening. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by, and we'll see you in the morning. Pinball out.